Hi, everybody, and welcome to Devotions this Monday. I hope your weekend was good. Well, this is a rose, and a rose is a good symbol of Christian living because it's a beautiful thing that God gives to us, that He lives our lives with us and blesses us. But a rose also has thorns, and so does the Christian life. There are difficulties and there are struggles. Well, Paul had this experience, and this is how he describes it in 2 Corinthians chapter 7 and onwards. He says, to keep me from being conceited because of these surpassingly great revelations, and he'd had some wonderful spiritual experiences, there was given me a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan, to torment me. 3 times I pleaded to the Lord to take it away. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, says Paul, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. What was this thorn in the flesh? There have been so many ideas. I think it's going to be one of the most frequently asked questions when we get to heaven. Some people say it was illness or bad eyesight, malaria even. Some people say it was a difficult relationship, someone who gave him a really hard time. Or some people say it was a struggle, a temptation that he was battling with. But one way or another, he tells us that this thorn in the flesh was given to him. It wasn't just a random thing. God actually allowed him to have it. There was some purpose behind it. So he asked God to take it away 3 times, but God didn't do that. Ever had that experience? Paul did. And the reasons for it that he believed was that it was to keep him from being proud after all these wonderful experiences that he'd had. He had to acknowledge that there were certain things in his life that he couldn't handle on his own, and to keep him trusting in God to help him through the difficulties, to experience the power of God. God said to him, my grace is sufficient. My power is made perfect in your weakness. And so what was Paul's response to this difficulty, whatever it may have been? Well, the first thing, of course, he asked God to remove it. And that's the common sense thing to do. But it didn't go away. And so the next thing he did was to listen. Okay, God, if you're not going to take it away, tell me why it's here and tell me why I'm still struggling with it. And he listened for God's answer. And we know what that was. My grace is sufficient for you. And so he says, okay, now I will therefore boast in my weaknesses, because through my weaknesses, I can experience more of the power of God. He even says that he delights in his weaknesses. And he mentions some of them. Now, this is even more than just that particular thorn in the flesh. He says insults, hardships, persecutions, difficulties, all of those things that trouble us, that get in the way. He says, I delight in them, because through them, I can experience the blessing and the power of God and know more of God. What are your thorns? I've got mine, you got yours. One of the big ones in my life was that I was a stammerer. At school, I had speech therapy for all of my years at school. I couldn't do orals at school. They just took too long. I couldn't tell jokes to my friends because it took too long to take the jokes and so on. And I'm sure you've got yours as well. But God enabled me even to work in a situation where I have to speak a lot. And I give thanks and praise to him. So when these difficulties come, Paul gives us the way. Ask God to remove it. But if he doesn't, listen for God's answer. And maybe even boast or delight in the weakness, because you discover more of God through it. Well, may God bless you. And I hope those thorns don't prick too painfully. Have a blessed week. Bye for now.